Hello there, my name is Jennifer Terri. I'm Philippine Travel Updates. You know me. Okay, it's been a while. Let's start with something good. Next month, your flight tickets will be cheaper as the Civil Aeronautics Board announced that they will be bringing down this fuel surcharge from level 7 to 6. So you're looking at for domestic flight instead of 200 to 739 to just 185 to 665. And then for international, it's not a big difference, but I mean something is better than nothing, diba? It's a very common question people ask, where do you book your flights? I always book my flight direct with the airline. You might get it cheaper with a third party site or with a travel agency. Yeah, as long as you read the fine print. Moving on, you no longer need to wear a mask in NAIA. So last March 15, the Manila International Airport Authority released an advisory announcing that face mask is optional in NAIA. In accordance with the executive order released by the president last year, however, according to them, it's still required to be worn inside the aircraft and airside passenger vehicles. Okay, still need to wear mask pala inside the airplane. Meanwhile, in the US, the CDC announced that they will no longer be requiring pre-departure tests for travelers from China as there is no longer a surge there. In fact, China is reopening. Now, meanwhile, in the Philippines, unvaccinated travelers, nothing has changed. You still have to show a negative test result. It's still either before departure or upon arrival. It's still up to you. It's a negative rapid antigen test result taken within 24 hours. The RT-PCR test taken within 48 hours is also accepted by the Bureau of Quarantine. Meanwhile, you probably heard it in the news. Somebody missed their flight again. Again, it's the immigration. Last time we spoke, it was about having long lines in the immigration, but this time it was because they interviewed the passenger so long that they missed their flight. Let me show you.
Immigration ran for my Israel and Palestine trip. I started lining up in the immigration at around before 8. And the line was so long since I'm a solo traveler, but it's not my first time traveling solo. Of course, the immigration officer kept asking questions about my flights, my previous flights, my reason for travel. So he kept on asking me irrelevant questions. Is number one, if my parents were separated or together. Number two, if I have my yearbook with me. I told the officer hey, I graduated college 10 years ago. Why would I even bring a yearbook in my travel? Who brings yearbook going to Israel? Who brings yearbook in their travel? He got my phone and then he was the one browsing my email to check if I really booked my flight. So, and the airport ground staff keep going back to his office and asking that I needed to go to the boarding gate because it's my final call. I'm the only passenger left for that flight. And then the ground staff also asked if the officer will off-board me because they don't need to keep coming back. And then the officer said, I will not offload her. Just wait for me for more questions. So in my mind, I was like, you don't have plans of offloading me, so why do you have to keep asking questions? Up until he finally stamped my passport that I'm allowed to go. And I was running with the airport staff. But then again, the gates were closed and I missed my flight. Long story short, I booked another flight for the next day. Thank you, immigration officer Abdullah. So I missed my flight. I have to pay for it. And you don't have any accountability. Cheers to that.
So yeah, she missed her flight because of the lengthy interview, and some of the questions that were asked to her was ridiculous, totally irrelevant because it made rounds on social media. The Bureau of Immigration issued a statement claiming, we're sorry about the inconvenience. The passenger was eventually allowed. Yeah, but she still missed her flight because your interview took so long. I feel like this is done on purpose. Feeling ko lang. That's just my guess. And the immigration shared last year that they deferred departure of about 32,404 Filipinos. And out of that, About 1,355 were found to be victims of human trafficking, and others were fraudulent. They presented fake documents. So like, out of the 32,000, there were 1,500 proven to be victims or fraudulent. So what happened to the rest? Like, more than 30,000 people. What happened to them? They were offloaded for what reason? You made a mistake? Sorry? So if you think about the numbers, palang the success rate is only 4.15%. And that's not impressive. That's subpar. If the standards is that, oh my goodness. See, this is the thing with immigration. Look, of course, human trafficking is a big and serious issue. It's happening. It's real. Still, it's not an excuse for the inefficiency. The statement didn't even sound like an apology. You know what? Immigration officers should have training and education in these screening procedures. Because what's happening is that there is no standard. There's no standard. So, like, the questions can be irrelevant. Like, they're supposed to be specifically designed to identify possible victims of human trafficking, diba? But since there is no standards, they are inconsistent, decisions or the process are made strictly arbitrarily. And sometimes depend on the immigration officer's mood at the moment. They're having a bad day. Oh my goodness, sorry ka. These interviews should be conducted with respect and dignity. They are looking for victims, not criminals. So stop with the intimidation because it's not helping. Moreover, our fellow Filipinos should also be educated. I mean, immigration, this is also your job. You're not letting people know what they need to travel. You'd say, oh, we only need return ticket and then ito lang, financial capacity at saka hotel booking. But that's not the only things you ask. You know it. Like, if you're a Filipino tourist, you really have to do your research. No, you can't just have your visa and then your ticket and no. You have to like treat this as like a thesis defect. So how to avoid being offloaded? If you have families who will be traveling as a tourist, you have to make sure that they all have the documents. For example, very basic, passport should be more than 6 months valid. Round trip ticket, yes. Return ticket. If you're a tourist, return ticket is a must. Even if you have plans on applying for another visa, conversion, no. Please have a return ticket. And then hotel bookings, or if you're staying with a family, proof that you are staying in that address, maybe their ID, a letter. If you're working, work leave approval. If you have a business registration. If you're studying, school certificate. Financial capacity is very important. They want to know that you have the money to support yourself while you are abroad. So like, if this is self-sponsored, your bank statement, payslip. If this is sponsored by a family, an affidavit of support, their bank statement, their payslip, credit card statement, ganun. And another thing is have emergency contacts with you. Tell them that whatever happens to you, you have this contact and you know what to do. Again, treat this as if you are asking permission from your parents to go out. Parang ganun talaga. Para tayong children. It is truly unjust for Filipinos to be offloaded unfairly for whatever arbitrary, unfair reason. This does not only violate their rights, but this is also negatively affecting our tourism industry. And it affects thousands of Filipinos. This is not only causing stress, inconvenience, but the biggest thing is financial loss. We urge the Philippine government, legislators, people in power who can make changes like congressmen, senators. Reach out to them and make changes. Do you have your own personal experience? Scared to share, guys. And if you know, like, you have connections with politicians, go talk to them, guys. Let's make it a collective effort.